Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go to this great email that was sent from a subscriber. This is a guy, he sharing his story about when he was in his very early 20s, and he was with this girl that he obviously thought was the one, was deeply in love with, the one he was going to marry, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to see that in this story, guys, that he makes the same mistake that so many guys make, and I'm sure if you're honest with yourselves, that some of you guys have made, where he makes his girl his purpose in life rather than all his ambitions and goals. Now, don't get me wrong, in the story, he's on his way, he's studying to become a CPA, which he would obviously make good money doing and have a good career, but still, she was his purpose. And you're going to see all the crap that he endures and all BS from her, ignoring the red flags, not, calling her on her BS, not standing up for himself, and all the crap that he deals with. But ultimately, you're going to see one day, my man here has had enough. And he does a complete 180, flips the script, and then he made his goals and ambitions his purpose. And wait till you see how well he's doing today and what his life is like. Because you're going to see when he was making her his purpose, he was unhappy and broke. But when he made his goals his purpose, well, you're going to see at the end of the story where he is today and what his life is like. And this is exactly a situation where I want you guys that are younger or working on your purpose, or maybe if you're older and not happy where things have gone, this can motivate you to help you out, maybe what you can do to turn things around in your life. Because we all have the power to do it, guys. We're all masters of our own destiny. Yes, shit is going to come along the way and give us some hurdles and roadblocks. But we're the ones that make the choice, either let that stop us or we persevere and keep forging forward. So, starts off, it says, "Hi SSM, thank you for your continued work. I've been following you since around 20,000 subscribers." Holy crap, dude, that was like June 2020. Thank you very much for your support. I am truly grateful. And all you guys have been following me early from the beginning, or if you just found me last week. It was around that time my channel really started to take off. More men need to know of your channel. I listen to your videos every day, and it motivates me to write in my story to share with your community. Back when I was 18, I met a girl who meant everything to me. We were together for 4.5 years. I did everything for her. Pay attention to that. I helped her uplift herself. Improving her confidence was basically Captain Save you know what. We were planning to get married around the age of 24, 25. Smack. I did everything wrong before, all the lame things to serenade her, win her approval. Drew portraits for her, everything that we've been fed in the BS Disney movies. I probably did it. I was truly in love with her. Bro, don't feel bad. We've all, if we're honest with ourselves, we've all done some of this crap that you see in movies and TV. It isn't just Disney stuff, it's Hallmark Channel. I mean, right now during the holidays, you're bombarded with all these like Christmas type of movies and the guys behaving like that. You can't miss it. And that's all fine and dandy on the movies and TV shows, but when you act the way in real life, it doesn't really work out very well for the guy. Or he may be with the girl, but she doesn't actually treat him in the way that he treats her or anything like that. I was pursuing my CPA during the time that I was pursuing my CPA designation in accounting during the time, and of course, she wanted to marry by age 25. Not because of her, but because of her mother's expectations. Well, that's never good when there's family pressure trying to make you or pressure you to do something that you don't want to do. Her mother and father used to argue 24/7 all the time, and she would pull a weapon on him. Well, that's screwed up. Dude, you want to marry into that? They're fighting all the time, and the mother's pulling a weapon of some sort on the dad. Think about the girl you're marrying and what she's going to be like when there's a problem. She's going to think, oh, well, mom and dad fight all the time and pull objects on each other when things get bad. Well, that's what I'm going to do when things don't work out. Big red flag. He says, effed up, I know. There were more red flags than a CCP parade. But I didn't know anything. I kept asking her to wait for me to finish because marrying before financial stability didn't make any sense. Of course, she just couldn't. See, you're coming from a place of common sense and logic. If you're going to get married, yeah, make sure you got some money in different accounts, that you're into your main career at that point, and you got some experience and all that. But this idea of just doing the whole romance thing and throwing caution to the wind and just love will find a way nonsense, crap you see in the movies, without any money or anything like that's stupid. But that's what happens when people follow what you see in the movies or go on their emotions. And notice the guy here is the sensible one. I want to wait, at the very least, to have some money saved and so forth. Because, one of the biggest causes of conflict in marriages is money. Generally not having enough. Or one person is a saver, the other one's a spender. Or a real spender. And I'm sure many of you dudes that are watching me now that either are married, been married, or in serious relationships know what I'm talking about the whole money factor. Conveniently, her coworker was pursuing her, knowing that she was in a relationship with me, and she kept allowing him to keep up the pursuit. Of course, she loved the attention. Well, I tell you, attention and validation is like a drug. He would give her rides home, text her morning and night every day, talk about what they eat, etc. Whenever I drew a boundary, she would just say she feels like she can't work a job because of my jealousy. You have every right to draw a line. This guy's texting her 24/7 and amongst many other things. You have every right to draw a line. And quite frankly, if she was not going to respect those boundaries that you set, you could have a reason to walk away. But obviously back then, you didn't have the balls that you have right now, and you didn't know any better. And unfortunately, a lot of guys don't. They think this is the best I can get. She's hot, all that. I just gotta be Mr. Nice Guy and just do whatever she says and go along with whatever she wants because, of course, that's what you see in TV and movies. That's what my dad does. That's what my uncle does. And what happens when you do that? They lose respect for you. And let me tell you, gentlemen, tests happen all the time. She liked him because he made 50 cents more an hour than I did. Oh, whoopee. He was 33 during the time living with his mom and dad, and I was 22. So he was a Chad or Tyrone. It didn't make a difference he was living with his mom and dad. There was something about him that attracted her. When I made it as a CPA, I'd be at least pulling in $100K a year. Only difference was he had a car and I didn't. Anyway, she left me and said we were no longer on the same wavelength and that I treated her horribly. This is the same guy who said he drew portraits for her and all these other things, and now she's dumping him. Well, you know what? That's the best thing, honestly, knowing what I know, reading your story, that's the best thing that could ever happen to you. He says, keep in mind, I did everything for her. Later, I kept begging and pleading for her to come back. No man should ever beg and plead. Guys, if there's anything you take from this, there's a lot of things to take from this story. But one very important thing is, no man should be begging and pleading to anybody. I mean, I just don't get where this has just become more of a thing. When I hear these stories, begging and pleading. I grew up watching, in the 80s and 90s, all these movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Bruce Willis, Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, those type of movies. You ever notice in those movies, those guys, when they're confronting an enemy, you don't see them begging and pleading for their lives, right? These were actually a time when they portrayed men in movies as men. Die Hard would be a very good movie if John McClane was begging and pleading to Hans Gruber for his life. Or at the end of Predator, when he was fighting the alien, he was down begging and pleading for mercy from the invisible alien. You get my point here. So don't do that in real life, guys. But nowadays, the way they portray guys in movies is like, good Lord. Thank God I grew up when I did. Movies were badass back in the 80s and early 90s. He says here, she eventually did come back and was super apologetic about it. Probably she was having a roll in the hay with that dude, but saw you were going somewhere in your life. So what did I do? I gave her a second chance and wanted to work. I took on debt, $32,000 in a brand new Honda Accord because the other guy had a car. My CPA and student loan debt was eating me alive, around $2,000 a month. And he says $100,000 total at age 22. $1,000 for the car, all to impress her because her coworker had the car. At that time, I made $35,000 a year, and I was living paycheck to paycheck. So you were on your path to getting your CPA, where your salary would skyrocket from $35K a year to like $100,000. And by the way, he says he has $100,000 in student loans at that age. I did a whole video the other day about that whole thing, about some woman that racked up 430K to be exact, in student loans and is singing the blues. At least your 100K in student loans, you're pursuing something you're going to make money off. You're going to have a strong career as an accountant, especially if you get hired by one of those big firms, I mean, 100K to start once you get your CPA, that's pretty awesome. And again, it all depends on where you live, but the point is, that expense for the college loans, that is a lot, don't get me wrong, you're going to be able to pay it back, and you're going to make a return off that in time, as opposed to 100K in some BS liberal arts thing. But anyhow, see what he's doing for her. He's making her his purpose. And he's broke and got this car that he really didn't need at the time, because I guess he was getting around through Ubers, and maybe he was in the city, whatever, but he got this car he didn't need just to impress her. Not a good way to go. When we got back together, I was always deeply paranoid and constantly insecure and accusing her of cheating and being with other men. That is no place to be. Why be in a relationship if there's no trust and you have to always sleep with one eye open and always wonder what she's doing? But you were young, I get it. I would eventually snoop her phone and found that she was potentially cheating on me, but I couldn't prove it. The iPhone Find My Location is a really handy tool in case if you guys want to see what your significant other is doing. She'd be at some other guy's house. I even went in to confront the guy, to which he denied anything with her involvement. Again, you're inexperienced, you didn't know any better, and now I know you know now that you'd be laying down the law and this BS wouldn't happen. But you see, guys, what happens when your girl doesn't respect you? You see what happens when you don't lay down the law? Treatment like this. But a lot of guys will settle for this because they figure, hey, she's the best thing I ever got. She's a pretty girl, and don't want to make her mad. He said, this was the lowest point in my life. I was ashamed of myself. Eventually, my paranoia was eating me up. I was always feeling unsafe or that there was no trust in the relationship. So I just left the relationship and never turned back. Thank the Lord. Good job, man. And I'm sure that wasn't easy, but you said it was eating you alive, making you miserable. So, but I gotta wonder if your parents had an unhappy marriage or things were like that. I gotta wonder, because a lot of times what people grow up into is kind of what they end up in future relationships. He says, I left there at the lowest point in my life. Over $100,000 in student loan debt, $25,000 in car loan, and $35,000 a year on a dead-end accounting job. At that point, I really started to push myself because the relationship pains were really traumatic for me. I wanted to bury myself in my work. Translation, I'm making my purpose my main thing in life. Bury myself in work, improvement. And watch, guys, how his life quickly turns around. I started dabbling in other businesses. I failed several. I even dropped out of the CPA. Screw education, it isn't worth a lot. Or isn't worth it. Well, that's a gamble, my friend. A CPA and going for that position would be a steady thing. That was a gamble. I admire you trying different businesses, and as you know well, things don't always work out, but you keep trying, you keep grinding. A lot of people try one thing, it doesn't work out, but this guy kept trying. And it was a risk putting the accounting thing on the side, but watch what happens. A lot of them, it didn't end up working out. It took me about 3 years before I had any real breakthroughs. Once I had a taste of success, my first $100,000, I used that money to buy up real estate, a triplex, and a duplex. Good. Instead of pissing that money away on some BS or some chick, you used that money you made and invested it in real estate, something that gives you a return. Good. A lot of people, when they have their extra money, they piss it away on BS to make them happy. What people should be doing is investing that money in something that's going to give them a solid return. Whether it could be a real estate investment, it could be an index fund, whatever the hell it is. But a lot of people they spend money just on these short-term things to make them feel better at the time, and that never really fixes the situation. I know people that are like this. I delayed the gratification on buying dumb things and kept stacking. Yes, that's the way to go. Fast forward to now, I've continued that journey and stacked multi-millions in real estate, and I'm now a millionaire. Awesome. There you go. He started in his 20s, guys. The earlier you start investing, whatever the hell it is, the more you have time for it to grow. You put $10,000, if you're 25 years old and you got $10,000 and you put it in the S&P 500 500 index fund, in 40 years, that's really going to grow. However, if you put that same $10,000 in at age 35, it's going to be a much smaller number than it would be 30 years investing as opposed to 40. The earlier you start, guys, even if it's $100 a week, it doesn't matter. Start young and let that grow and grow and grow. This is awesome, brother. I'm proud of you. He says, I have a Corvette, a Mustang, and 32 rental units paying me each month. God damn. Women are throwing themselves at me all the damn time, and because I'm entering my prime and sacrificing my 20s. Yes. Look at his life now. He spent early in his life making his girl his purpose. After it was too much, that's it, and his goals and ambitions are his purpose. And as he said before, guys, it didn't all work out right away, as things usually don't, but he kept grinding. And then he started making real money, and instead of pissing it away on bullshit, the fancy cars, chicks, vacations, jewelry, clothes, whatever, video games. No, he bought the house, the triplex. He bought the duplex. Something gives him a return. And I'm going to guess he probably used the value of the first properties to give him collateral to get another property, and so on and so on and so on. This is awesome, bro. I'm really proud of you. One of the most important things I think I want to give as a takeaway to viewers is based on my experience is to focus on building yourself up into the best version. Yes. Use your 20s to stack up and acquire. Translation, grind in your 20s and invest, invest, invest. Men are success objects. As long as you are in shape and have money, you can pull up in a nice car and pick up most girls. I spent a lot of time going through personal self-development, learning to be truly confident and to never doubt myself. I always view myself as the prize now. Yes, brother, exactly. And you know what? You are a freaking prize. Look what you've done for yourself. And let me tell you guys, when you start having real success, you just feel so good about it. Especially, it's one thing if you're successful. It's another thing if you really had to struggle for your success and you finally get there and things are working. It can take you 20 years to find your real thing, and you start making the money and you're feeling good. Believe me, you're electric. People are drawn to you because you just walk around with a proud look on your face, the proud body language. And I'm not talking about cocky or arrogant, but just you're feeling good. And it's amazing the impact it has on people. And for those of you who had success, you know what I'm talking about. The very ironic thing is, I never treat or put women on a pedestal. It's my way or the highway. For the most part, I'm a jerk and women always stay. I don't know what degree you could say that you're a jerk. There's different interpretation of being a jerk is, but it sounds to me your purpose is the most important thing. You put yourself first. No pedestal for the gals, and it's your way or the highway. A lot of people call that a jerk. But that attracts women because they're used to guys always kissing their butts all the time and the nice guy crap. They find it more attractive when you don't listen to them and constantly stand your ground. Right, because back in the day, he wasn't standing his ground. It wasn't his way or the highway. It was her way or the highway. See? When he was putting her first and making her his purpose, he was broke and miserable. When he's putting himself first and his purpose first and being smart with money and growing and investing and taking calculated risks, look at his life now. I speak from experience in case viewers want to call BS on this, as I've been in another relationship for 4 years with a model. I didn't do jack shit and she would never leave me. Eventually I left the girl because as I became more successful, I outgrew mediocrity. I'm always the one leaving the girls now, and moving forward, I became a Chad. Keep doing it, dude. Keep pushing, keep grinding. Wherever you are now, if you have other goals, keep after it. Life is what you make it. And I know this guy knows there's going to be roadblocks and hurdles and problems. They're going to arise, but you find a way and keep on grinding, okay? This is awesome. At this point forward, as a high achiever, marriage is no longer on the table, nor children, as the risks completely outweigh the gains or the upside. You're damn right. I only have girlfriends now. I did not want to bring children into this crazy world. Cheers to everyone. Keep on pushing. Awesome. When I read this story, I was just a big freaking smile was on my face as I was reading the last part of this story, because this is what I want you guys to do. Doesn't mean all you guys are going to become millionaires in the next few years or whatever. Probably not. But if you can get yourself to a place where you're grinding, you're working hard, you get out of debt, You got money in different accounts. You're going somewhere. You're happy in whether you start a business and you're doing well and you're happy with that, or you're moving up on the corporate ladder where your job is, or doing something that makes you happy. You're finding your goals. You're happy with your friends and all that. That's all I want. And of course, hitting the gym and staying in good health. I don't want any giant obese dudes walking around here. I want you to stay healthy and fit. But my point is, look what can happen. Put yourself first, gentlemen. It doesn't mean you have to be a jerk, intentionally a jerk to people, but just focusing on yourself and your grind, and especially to the guys in their 20s. The younger you, like he said here, the younger you are, even if it's $100 a week, even if it's $50, $25 a week, early on in your 20s, start investing in it. A simple growth fund. Again, this is not I'm not giving advice. This is entertainment. Let me make this clear here. This is a financial channel, but just as common sense. Put it in something that you're comfortable with and watch it grow over time, and the more you put away, and it can be whatever investment you like, whether it be index funds or one day purchasing a house for a rental or crypto. I don't care what art, whatever the hell it is, something. Let it grow. Invest it. Don't put all your excess money in BS. It's interesting how so many times people that have money and a lot of success, a lot of wealth, while there are those that certainly flaunt it, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people that have money there are people with money that don't flaunt it, and you would never know it, and they're loaded. On the other hand, you could have people that barely have two nickels to rub together, not even a pot to piss in, and yet they have a car that they don't own. It's not paid for. They wear the most expensive designer clothes, jewelry, watches, big house they can't afford. They got nothing to their name, but they're just trying to make everybody think that they're wealthy and successful when they're not at all. Meanwhile, those, like I said, that barely have anything, they're loaded. So be the guy that people will never see it coming, but you're loaded. I want that for you, and it'll just make your life so much better. But anyhow, great story, guys. Your purpose comes first. Don't make women your purpose. They are dead last. Your purpose and your goals, ambitions are always first, and your life could be in some way or another like this dude's here. So for this guy, great story. I'm proud of you. Keep on grinding. Write to me in a year. Let me know how you're doing. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this, and be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.